Next on a BGSU Brain Game, it is Van Wert versus Riverdale. It has been said that the word brain appears some 66 times in the works of William Shakespeare. While that may be, for one of our teams, making it to the finals is to be. For the other, it's not to be. That is the question. There's only one way to find out the answer. BGSU's Brain Game semi-final round doth start right now. And welcome to BGSU's Brain Game semi-final round. We have Van Wert versus Riverdale. Let's meet our teams. Riverdale, tell us who you are.
I'm Sam Thacker, and I'm a senior. To my right is Andrew Burkowski. He's also a senior. And to my left is Ben Burkowski, and he's a junior. And our coach is Christy Thacker.
All right, welcome to Riverdale. Van Wert, tell us who you are.
I'm Kaylee. I'm a junior. To my left is Natalie. She's also a junior. To my right is Cadence. She's a freshman, and we're coached by Anita Zuber.
All right, welcome to both of our teams. This is a semi-final match. We start things off as we always do with our toss-up round. In this round, all questions are worth 10 points. There is no deduction for an incorrect answer, so teams, have some fun with this round. Let's ease into this. You may confer before buzzing in, but there is stealing. There is stealing in this round. Riverdale, Van Wert, are you ready? Your toss-up round starts right now. An angry mob burned this English scientist's home because of his sympathies for the French Revolution. Identify this man who shared the discovery of oxygen with Swedish chemist Carl Scheele. Riverdale, Andrew.
Fleming.
Incorrect. Van Wert, would you like to steal? They're shaking their head no. Joseph Priestley. Although his map projection exaggerates the apparent land. Riverdale, Andrew.
Mercator.
Mercator, yes. This chemical element has a density almost as low as aluminum and a much higher melting point. Name this element used in the manufacture of high-end baseball bats whose chemical symbol is SC. Riverdale, Andrew.
Scandium.
Scandium, yes. In the human body, which nerve extends down the back of the thigh to the lower leg and foot? It is the longest nerve in the body and is a frequent source of pain for those with chronic back problems. Sciatic, and yes it is. Begins with the letter S. What types of monetary grants or benefits offered by governments are given to private businesses or farmers? Riverdale, Andrew.
Subsidies.
Subsidies is what we were looking for there, yes. Spell the 10-letter noun that begins with a Q, which designates an enforced isolation to prevent the spread. Riverdale, Ben.
Q-U-A-R-A-N-T-I-N-E.
Correct. Quarantine. In science, this letter of the Greek alphabet is used to indicate a change. Riverdale, Ben.
Delta.
Delta is what we were looking for there, yes. During which decade of the 18th century did British Parliament pass the Housing and Administration Acts related to its troops in America known as the Quartering Acts? Van Wert, Kaylee.
The 60s?
We will not accept that. Riverdale. That would be Ben.
70s.
Incorrect. We needed specifically 1760s as well. We needed 17 in front of that. Highly addictive, this class of drugs is used to relieve pain and frequently results in drowsiness in the user. Name this chemical group that begins with the letter N. Riverdale, Sam.
Narcotics.
Narcotics, yes. Which three-word phrase from psychology describes the idea that people's self-perception is deeply influenced by others? Van Wert, Kaylee.
Self-serving bias.
Incorrect. Influenced by others' perceptions of them. Riverdale, would you like to steal?
We went over this in psychology class. I just can't remember.
Looking glass self. The steps of this landmark, sculpted by Daniel Chester French, were the site of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech in Riverdale. Ben?
Lincoln Memorial.
Correct. In the sentence, quote, "The squirrel scampered up the oak tree and tucked itself in a hole," end quote, what two words function as objects, Riverdale? Andrew?
Tree and hole.
Correct. Set in Massachusetts, in the fictional town of Marshport, this Disney television series tells a story of the Diaz family with a Van Wert. Kaylee?
Stuck in the middle.
Yes, indeed, stuck in the middle. The following lines of poetry were written during which war by Major John McRae for the funeral of Lieutenant Alexis Helmer? "We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn." Riverdale. Andrew?
World War II.
Incorrect. "Saw sunsets glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders." Van Wert. Natalie?
World War I.
World War I, yes. Both the Homestead Act and the Morrill Act that allowed for creation of land-grant colleges. End of round. Let's take a look at our score. We have Van Wert at 20 points, and currently in the lead with 80 points is Riverdale. You're going to stick around. Our head-to-head round is coming up next. And welcome back to BGSU's Brain Game. We did have a scoring correction after that last round. We now stand at Van Wert at 30 points and Riverdale at 80 points. Riverdale, looks like you have a sub. Who has joined your team?
To my left is Aaron, and he's a junior.
All right, welcome to Aaron. Van Wert, looks like you have a sub as well. Who's joined your team?
To my right is Megan. She's a freshman.
And welcome to Megan. This is our head-to-head round. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 15 questions. They're worth 10 points apiece with no deduction for an incorrect answer. Here's the twist. Both teams get the same 15 questions, but one stays in the studio, the other goes to isolation. After the round, we flip-flop, do it all over again, and at the end, we will see where our score stands. Riverdale, you are at 80. That means you will be sticking around. Van Wert, off to isolation. All right, Riverdale, are you ready for your 15 head-to-head questions?
Yes, sir.
This round for you starts right now. According to the carol, while shepherds watched their flocks by night, where did they sit?
All seated on the ground. On the ground.
On the ground.
On the ground, correct. Anthony Hope published a sequel, Rupert of Hentzau, to what 1894 novel?
Pass.
Prisoner of Zenda. Don Garlitz was the first in his sport to achieve 270 miles per hour. What was his sport?
NASCAR.
Racing.
We needed drag racing. Identify the volcano that erupted in 1980 in Washington State, spewing...
Mount St. Helens.
Correct. The Watergate scandal in the 1970s ended with the resignation of which U.S. president?
Nixon.
Correct. In what year did World War I begin in Europe?
1914.
1914.
Correct. What is the fastest dog on Earth that can run as fast as 43 miles per hour?
Greyhound.
Correct. Which two elements are most abundant in the Earth's crust?
Carbon and
Nitrogen.
carbon and aluminum.
Incorrect. Oxygen and silicone. Who was president when Dolly the sheep was cloned in Scotland?
Bush.
Bill Clinton. In Egyptian mythology, who was the goddess of motherhood, magic, and fertility?
Isis.
Correct. Begins with an S. These organisms consume only decayed or organic matter.
Pass.
Saprobes. What type of food poisoning usually occurs from eating raw meats and eggs or contaminated dairy products?
Salmonella.
Correct. In what country were the Auschwitz concentration camps located?
Poland.
Correct. Reflector is the fourth studio album produced by what indie rock band?
Paramore.
Arcade Fire. What is the length of a circle's diameter if its radius is 14.5 centimeters?
29 centimeters.
29 centimeters.
Correct. That is all 15 questions in the head-to-head round for Riverdale. It is now time for you to go to isolation. All right, let's bring back Van Wert. Van Wert, are you ready for your 15 head-to-head questions? All right, it starts right now. According to the carol, while shepherds watched their flocks by night, where did they sit?
Pass.
On the ground. Anthony Hope published a sequel, Rupert of Hentzau, in what 1894 novel?
Pass.
Prisoner of Zenda. Don Garlitz was the first in his sport to achieve 270 miles per hour. What was his sport?
Baseball.
Incorrect. Drag racing. Identify the volcano that erupted in 1980 in Washington State, spewing ash.
Mount St. Helens.
Correct. The Watergate scandal in the 1970s ended with the resignation of which U.S. president?
Nixon.
Correct. In what year did World War I begin in Europe?
1939.
Incorrect. 1914. What is the fastest dog on earth that can run as fast as 43 miles per hour?
Dalmatian.
Greyhound. Which two elements are most abundant in the Earth's crust?
Oxygen and nitrogen.
Oxygen and silicone. Who was president when Dolly the sheep was cloned in Scotland?
Reagan.
Clinton. In Egyptian mythology, who was the goddess of motherhood, magic, and fertility?
Pass.
Isis. Begins with an S. These organisms consume only decayed organic matter.
S-waves.
Saprobes. What type of food poisoning usually occurs from eating raw meats?
Salmonella.
Correct. In what country were the Auschwitz concentration camps located?
Poland.
Correct. Reflector is the fourth studio album produced by what indie rock band?
1975.
Incorrect. Arcade Fire. What is the length of a circle's diameter if its radius is 14.5 centimeters?
29.
Correct. That is all 15 questions in the head-to-head round. For you, it's now time to clear our score, and let's bring back Riverdale. All right, Riverdale, you stand at how many points? 170. Van Wert stands at 80 points. Very, very close competition still indeed. Coming up next is our category round where things can change very, very quickly because we have questions worth up to 30 points apiece. Stay tuned. And welcome back to BGSU's Brain Game. Van Wert, 80 points. Riverdale, 170 points. Van Wert, you have a new member of your team. Who is it?
To my right is William. He's a sophomore.
Welcome to William. Riverdale staying with your lineup from the last round. As we move into the category round, things are going to get a little bit more serious now. There are 6 categories to choose from. Inside each category are questions worth 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 points. But deductions start now. If you go for 20, you can lose 20. You may confer before buzzing in, and you can steal a question in this round. Van Wert, since you are at 80 points, you get to make the first selection.
Songs of the ages for 10.
Songs of the ages for 10 points. What are the next lyrics in the children's song that begins with London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down, London Bridge is falling? Van Wert, Kaylee.
My Fair Lady.
My Fair Lady, yes. Van Wert still in control.
Songs of the ages for 15.
Songs of the ages for 15 points. What cowboy song from the Old West begins with the lyrics, "Oh, give me a home where the buff..." That would be Riverdale. Sam.
Home on the Range.
Home on the Range. Riverdale takes control.
We'll do C math terms for 10.
C math terms for 10 points. When the measure of two angles are added together and the sum, Riverdale. Andrew.
Complementary.
Complementary, yes. Riverdale in control.
We'll do C math terms for 15.
C math terms for 15. When circles share a common, that will be Van Wert. William.
Concentric.
We will accept that, yes.
Songs of the Ages for 20.
Songs of the Ages for 20 points. What finally stand alone in The Farmer in the Dell? That would be Riverdale. Sam.
The cheese.
The cheese, yes. Riverdale in control.
We'll do Songs of the Ages for 25.
Songs of the Ages for 25 points. What Civil War battle song written by Julia Ward Howe? Riverdale. Andrew.
Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Battle Hymn of the Republic, yes. Riverdale in control.
We'll do Songs of the Ages for 30.
Song of the Ages for 30 points. What 20th century American was nicknamed the King of Rock and Roll? Riverdale. Andrew.
Elvis Presley.
You got it right. Riverdale in control.
We'll do C math terms for 20.
C math terms for 20 points. What do we call a line segment inside a circle that has both end? Van Wert. William.
A chord.
A chord is correct. Van Wert now in control.
C math terms for 25.
C math terms for 25 points. What math term is used to designate any figure with the same size and shape? Van Wert. William. Time. Riverdale, would you like to steal? That would be Sam.
Congruent.
Congruent, yes. Riverdale in control.
We'll do C math terms for 30.
C math terms for 30 points. What three-dimensional figure has two parallel bases? Van Wert. William.
Cube.
Incorrect. That are connected by a curved surface. Riverdale, would you like to steal? Sam.
Cylinder.
Cylinder is what we're looking for there. Yes, Riverdale in control.
We'll do O Canada for 10.
Canada for 10 points. What title is given to the leader of the majority? Van Wert. Kaylee.
Prime Minister.
Correct. Van Wert now in control.
Historical woman for 10.
Historical women for 10 points. What black civil rights activist refused? Van Wert. Kaylee.
Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks. Yes, Van Wert in control.
Historical woman for 15.
Historical women for 15. What seamstress is credited? Van Wert. Natalie.
Betsy Ross.
Betsy Ross. Yes, Van Wert still in control, making a move.
Historical woman for 20.
Historical women for 20 points. What nurse founded the American Red Riverdale? Aaron.
Clara Barton.
Correct. Riverdale now in control.
We'll do Greek prefixes for 10 points.
Greek prefixes, 10 points. I will state a Greek prefix. You provide its meaning. Micro. Riverdale. Andrew.
Small.
Correct. Riverdale in control.
We'll do Greek prefixes for 15.
Greek prefixes, 15 points. Macro. Riverdale. Andrew.
Large.
Correct. Riverdale in control.
We'll do O Canada for 15.
O Canada for 15. What is the official language of the province? Riverdale. Aaron.
French.
Correct. Of Quebec. Riverdale in control.
We'll do phrases by Shakespeare for 10.
Phrases by Shakespeare for 10. I will read a quote from Shakespeare that is missing words and indicate the number of words needed to complete the sentence or phrase. You provide the missing words. We're looking for 4 words: friends, Romans, countrymen. Van Wert. Natalie.
Lend me your ears.
Correct. Van Wert in control.
Historical woman for 25.
Historical women for 25 points. What female reformer established a settlement house known as Hull House in Chicago, Illinois? Van Wert. Natalie.
Jane Addams.
Jane Addams, yes.
Historical woman for 30.
Historical women for 30 points. What women's right advocate helped Elizabeth Cady Stanton organize the first convention for women's rights? Riverdale. Sam.
Susan B. Anthony.
Incorrect. In Seneca Falls, New York in 1848. Van Wert, would you like to steal? That would be Kaylee.
Chapman.
Incorrect. Lucretia Mott is what we needed there. Van Wert in control.
Okay, Greek prefixes for 20.
Greek prefixes for 20 points. Gyno. Female. Van Wert in control.
Phrases by Shakespeare for 15.
Phrases by Shakespeare for 15 points. We're looking for one word. Et tu. Riverdale. Andrew.
Brute.
Brute, yes.
We'll do O Canada for 20.
Oh, Canada for 20 points. Name Canada's largest province based on land area. Riverdale, Sam.
Yukon Territory.
Incorrect. Van Wert, would you like to steal? Quebec. Riverdale in control.
We'll do Phrases by Shakespeare for 20.
Phrases by Shakespeare for 20 points. One word. It was blank to me. It was Greek to me. Riverdale in control.
We'll do Greek prefixes for 25.
Greek prefixes for 25. Proto. That would be Riverdale. Aaron.
First.
First, yes. Riverdale in control.
We'll do Phrases by Shakespeare for 25.
Phrases by Shakespeare for 25. We're looking for one word. Not that I loved blank less, but I loved Rome more. Van Wert. William.
Caesar.
That would be Caesar. Van Wert in control.
Phrases by Shakespeare for 30.
Phrases by Shakespeare for 30 points. We're looking for two words. End of round. Make a virtue of necessity. That's what we were looking for there. Let's take a look at our score. We have Van Wert at 135. Riverdale currently in the lead with 375 points. You're going to want to stick around. Our brainstorm round is coming up next. Questions worth 20 points apiece. Stay tuned. And welcome back to BGSU's Brain Game semi-final round. Van Wert, 135 points. Riverdale at 375 points. Looks like we have some new and returning members. Riverdale, who's come back?
We have Ben joining me, or us, to our left.
All right, welcome back. And joining Van Wert is?
To my right is Sophie. She's a sophomore.
All right, welcome to Sophie. This is it. Final round, Brainstorm Round. In this round, all questions are worth 20 points. Negative 20 points for an incorrect answer, so it'll cost you. You may confer before buzzing in. No stealing in this round. 3 minutes of brainstorm. Riverdale, Van Wert, are you ready? Here we go. First question. What 6-letter term is the name given to the first coat of paint that is applied to any surface? Riverdale, Andrew.
Primer.
Correct. Name the U.S. gem state whose motto Riverdale, Ben.
Vermont.
Incorrect. Idaho. With whose assassination would one associate Jack Ruby? Van Wert, Natalie.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Correct. What name is given to the flat land located near the edges of a river formed by the silt deposited by high waters? And that would be Riverdale. Andrew.
Delta.
Incorrect. Floodplain. This Secretary of State purchased Alaska for the United States. Riverdale, Andrew.
Seward.
Seward, yes. What planet in our solar system has the lowest average density? Riverdale, Andrew.
Saturn.
Correct. What do we call a number with exactly 2 divisors? Riverdale, Ben.
Prime.
Prime, yes. What is the capital of Malaysia? Kuala Lumpur. This president signed the resolution admitting Texas to the United States before he left office in 1845. John Tyler. In what quadrant of the coordinate system are both the abscissa and the ordinate negative? Riverdale, Andrew.
3.
Correct. What tube connects the middle ear to the throat? Riverdale, Sam.
Eustachian tube.
Correct. In physics, which term is used to define the distance an object is moved? Riverdale, Andrew.
Displacement.
Correct. Ellis Island was the immigrant entrance of the East. Name its western Riverdale, Ben.
Angel Island.
Correct. For what state does the Joad family leave Oklahoma to work as migrants in Steinbeck's novel, The Grapes? Van Wert, Natalie.
California.
Correct. A caldera is found at the top of what type of Riverdale, Andrew?
Volcano.
Correct. How many articles is how many articles is the U.S. Constitution divided? 7. How many amendments are in the Bill of Rights? That would be Riverdale. Ben?
10.
10 is correct. What fractional part of the U.S. states must ratify a proposed amendment before it can be added to the Constitution? End of round. Let's take a look at our score. We have Van Wert at 175 and our winner, Riverdale, with 535 points. Let's give both these teams a big round of applause. Spirit of good sportsmanship. Let's meet in the middle, shake hands, and we'll see you at the next BGSU Brain Game.